Welcome to this month's edition of the Empower Her webinar. My name is Olajumoke Afolari, and I'm the founder convener of Empower Her, a community of women who seek to step into their fullest potential, rise above limitations and setbacks, and hey, live a no-holds-barred life. And I'm going to share more about Empower Her in the course of today's edition. Today's topic is winning is work. And last month, in case you missed last month's webinar, it's not too late. You can actually go back. It's live. It's still here on the WhatsApp, on the YouTube channel. You can check, sit and feast with it. Last month was a ride I had with me. Love, to share insights on this topic. These two women stood out, right? Tomiwa Oladimiji is known as Global HR for a reason. And she's going to be sharing with us HR essentials for building structures from day one. I always love that the webinars are holistic. So every single segment, every single session has a key takeaway for you, regardless of whatever phase you Obolu is also going to be with us in the webinar this evening. And I'm so excited. She is the General Manager of Voice of Africa by Africans. And amongst the many things that she does, she's an executionist. And this is no fluff. You're going to see this in her session later in the webinar. Another thing I thought about, right, in putting together this month's webinar, aside thinking through who are the women who I know will speak justice or will do justice and speak truth, will speak truth to this particular edition, I thought of the two of them. Another thing that I asked myself about my session is I'm going to be talking about the triple D formula to success, to winning. But in preparing for the session, I asked myself, there's a backdrop to winning. And there is a way that failure can mess up with your approach to life. I always make sure that the sessions are practical. You have key insights that you can leave and immediately start executing. And one of the things that I'll show you, in fact, in my session today, you'd almost think I'm a scientist, right? Because I will break down the psychology of winning, how you can teach your brain or trick your brain to winning, and some of the good stuff that you'll be learning. So, hey, it's a good place for you to grab a glass of water or a cup of coffee or a tall glass of juice, anything that you know will get you ready to learn and to feast on wisdom tonight, because it promises to really be insightful. So if you're watching this, you want to share with your sister, your friend, your community of power women. Hey, and if you're a man watching this, because I always believe that we want to make sure that we're not just living in an isolated world of wanting to empower women. We can't do that without men also being on that agenda with us. So if you're a man watching this, share with your sister, share with your loved one, share with your wife, share with the woman that you love and you want to see excel and you want to see truly empowered. This is the time to make sure that you are having everyone on board, all the women and men that you love, because it's going to be an interesting, powerful, insightful session with us at Empower Her Webinar. And so one of the things I would also want to encourage you to do is, if you're watching this right now, as you're sharing this, please take a screenshot, share on your Instagram story, and tag me at Olajumoke Afolare. And if you're not following me, you might also want to follow me right on Instagram, and also mention that you're about to get, you're about to dive into the Empower Her webinar, and tag me. I would love to see your tag and follow right back. Welcome to this edition. Winning is work. The triple D formula for winning. So I have my slides all prepared, and I want you to please go on this journey with me, right? Okay. And I'm starting by sharing with us a powerful quote that keeps me going a lot. Winners are not people who never fail, but people who never quit. So remember, I told us, and I mentioned that I wanted to just get into the backdrop of winning before diving right into the triple D formula for winning. Is that before we even talk about winning, hey, let's sit down and analyze what exactly happens on that flip side called failure. What exactly is the psychology of winning? Because winning is not just an occurrence. We hear this often about the fact that failure is an event and it is not your identity. Failure is not something that should ever define you. Newsflash, so is winning. Winning should not exactly define you, because if we're saying that failure should not define you, winning should not define you, because there's a psychology to winning. So winning is just a cause from an effect, right? And I really want you to stay with me and follow me. Please sip on your water, your juice, or your coffee as we go, so that we're in this together. I don't want to lose you, right? So winners are not people who never fail. They're just people who never quit. And I have some case studies, right? Now, the founder of KFC, we've all must have heard this story at one point or the other. At age 65, after being rejected more than 1,000 times, finally said yes. Someone finally said yes to his fried chicken recipe. Today, KFC feeds millions around the globe. And so when I was putting together these case studies, I wanted to also have versions of it that was relatable, that was a real-time example of someone's current reality. So let's flip this and let me speak to somebody who might be in a similar situation right now. So you feel like it's too late to start over because you're old, you feel that you're old, or you don't have that luxury of time anymore to start again. That age or past mistakes have boxed you in. But like Colonel Sanders, what if your best chapter hasn't even started yet? Now hold that thought. Another case study. Chimamanda got rejected by multiple publishers before her novels Half of a Yellow Sun, Americana gained global acclaim. Yes, the same Chimamanda that you might be idolizing right now, or that you love so much as a writer yourself, got multiple rejections by publishers. So let's flip it. Relatable version. You face rejections over and over and over. You have feedbacks that want you to quit. You have been, sending in proposals upon proposals. But like Chimamanda, what if your story, your voice is exactly what the world is waiting to hear? I want you to stay with me. Michael Jordan was 15 years old when he was cut off his high school basketball team. Rather than quitting, he trained harder and became one of the greatest athletes of all time. Relatable version. You've been told that you're not good enough. You've even been rejected from something you thought you were made for. But like Michael Jordan, what if that rejection is like fuel you need to practice, push harder, and prove them wrong? So let me tell you what happened with Michael Jordan. He was 15, cut off the basketball team for the university he was to be on, and then placed in the junior school team. Guess the reason why? They said one thing was his height, it was too short. But you know what he did? He trained harder. And hey, I would never imagine that someone's determination could fuel his motivation so much to train harder that what happened to his height? Because when you are faced with that kind of limitation and you believe this is something that you're made for, you want to go beyond all reasonable doubt. I'm giving us relatable versions for a reason, because I just don't want to give us aspire to Maguire or speak above our heads and just make it a cliche, motivation again that I know you've heard 1,000 times. I have another relatable version, this time speaking to someone. I'm so sure this is speaking to someone. You've been making applications all year long, but all you'll be receiving are rejection mails. So one of the things we do in the EmpowerHER community is that we share global opportunities across different fields for women. And the link is going to be pinned if you want to join that community. And I get messages from people who say they have been applying and nothing seems to be coming out of all those applications. We unfortunately want to, let you know. And then they are even used to those rejection mails. The difference between those who rise and those who stay down is not that they never failed, is that they refuse to let failure define them. So in the month of September, I recall that I have also made different applications. However, September this year, I got a congratulatory mail out of the many rejections to participate in the African Prosperity Network dialogue that held in the United Nations. One of the most remarkable things is I'd made a similar application before and got rejected. But what if I had stopped? What if I had been discouraged and I didn't go on? I didn't press on? What if? Now, failure can mess up with your approach to life. It really can. And you're going to have valid reasons to want to fail, to want to sit back after failure, because there's something that happens to your mind, to your brain, after you've failed over and over and over. Failure can break you or build you depending on your response. Depending on your response. Because failure can create self-doubt. So you've launched businesses before and it collapsed. And when you think of an idea that you think might be groundbreaking or another light bulb moment, you quickly cut it off. And you tell yourself, there's no point. Failure can paralyze action. So failure builds a wall in your mind that makes you afraid of the next step. But resilience means doing it regardless of those walls. Now, failure can either be a stepping stone or it can be a stumbling block. One of the dangerous things that you ever want to do to yourself is internalize failure. Hey, you did a business and it failed. What you should tell yourself is, what are the things I did wrong? And how can I learn from it to be better? Failure can redirect you. Failure can teach you. Failure can sharpen you, depending on your interpretation of it. Now, there are common traps after failure. You get into the trap of the fear of trying again. You get into that trap of defining yourself by the failure. You get into that trap of settling for less and shortchanging yourself because you have failed. Now, here's the good part. Something happens to your brain when you have failed over and over again. I remember when I was preparing for this session, I remember that in the last edition, I talked about the fact that sometimes what happens to us when we have failed, and I use the example of the times where I had academic challenges and I failed courses over and over, it becomes increasingly more difficult to pass a course when you failed it, because you begin to define yourself by that. And so you don't just have probably the challenge of it being a tough one or a difficult one. Meanwhile, that is even relative, right? You now have the challenge of the self-doubts, the walls that you built, and the interpretation that you have made out of that one-time occurrence of failing. So the brain records failure like pain. Failure activates the same brain regions as physical pain. And it's called the anterior cingulate cortex. Stay with me, guys. That's why rejection emails or failed exams hurt. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between physical injury and emotional failure. So something happens to you when you failed, it's just as bad as you had a terrible fall, depending on how magnanimous the application was. Some of us have had maybe visa rejections, and that's even shattering on another scale entirely. If you can only understand if you've ever had it. What happens again to your brain when you keep failing is reward system gets weaker. So normally, brain's dopamine system fires up when you are trying to pursue a goal. So constant failure can reduce the dopamine released in your brain, making you less and less motivated to keep pushing. So sometimes you think it's just lack of willpower to keep driving and pushing and pursuing a goal when you have failed at a first attempt. That's actually something going on in your brain. There's one more thing. Negative neural pathways strengthen. The brain loves patterns, and I'm going to sit down with this for a bit and show us. If you constantly rehearse failure in your thoughts, your brain wires those pathways stronger. Soon, you automatically expect failure before you even try. Now, this is even deadly. So there's something called neuroplasticity. And what this is simply is that you can wire your brain, teach your brain, because the brain loves patterns. And so there are messengers in our brains that are called neurons that passes information to the brain at different points in time. The moment you try to inform your brain about a certain situation and your brain processes it and it has already adjusted to that pattern, it's more or less pointless trying to even get that person to achieve anything. So once the negative neural patterns has been strengthened, you have strengthened the messengers in a negative way to teach them failure. So you can actually teach yourself failure. That's what this means. And the flip side, the good news is you can also teach yourself winning. You can teach yourself success. You can give and trick your brain into interpreting a situation as success. So the moment you get a rejection mail, rather than sit there and, feel bad and just binge on Netflix and ice cream, what you can say to yourself is, what are the other opportunities what are the 10 other opportunities I should sit down and apply for in replacement of this one rejection mail? When something doesn't go well, you got fired from your job, rather than wallow in the fact that I feel, or interpret it in a way that you tell yourself, I'm such a failure, I can never amount to much. I always knew that I wasn't cut out for this life, rather than give yourself all those negative interpretations, because the danger of what you're doing is you're teaching your brain something. Why not flip it around and begin to strengthen your positive neural pathways? Because in neuroplasticity, there is the negative and the positive, because it's all about wiring. It's all about the messages rather, that the neurons are passing to the brain. So your brain is all about giving you what you feed it, right? Your brain is like a city, and failure can either be roadblocks that lead to traffic jams, or they can create new routes to success. So winning starts in the mind before it shows in your reality. Like I explained to us about all the stuff that happens in your brain when you fail over and over, you can train your brain to win. Just the same way you exercise and you can grow muscles, you can strengthen your muscles. Think of your brain as the most powerful muscle in your body, and you can train. I like to say trick. You can trick your brain to win. And failure doesn't have to break you. Failure can become a teacher. Failure can help you sharpen your ability to now become more wired towards success. Core trait of a winning mindset. If we're agreeing now that it's all starts in the mind, it all stands and hand in the mind, what are the core traits of a winning mindset? Resilience, bouncing back from setbacks. Because while you're sitting and not catching up with what failure is teaching you, time is going. And one of the greatest disadvantage of that is the more you sit down and wallow in it, the longer you want to stay there. There's more inertia for you to now overcome. The lasting solution is not to avoid failure, but to train your brain to interpret failure differently. Build resilience, keep showing up, keep trying despite the discomforts. The more you face challenges, the more your brain adapts. But it's not just good enough that you're adapting to challenges. It's that you're learning how to now become more skilled to overcome them. One of the toughest things you would ever have to do is showing up, and that is always the most rewarding. Show up when you don't feel like it. Show up when it doesn't make sense. Keep making those applications no matter the rejection mails you keep getting. If I had given up in the course of this year and I felt, hey, I'm even the one building a community of women, sharing opportunities, and I keep getting all these rejection mails, if I had started to define myself in that light, and sometimes it's even about how we think that we are infallible. It happens to the best of us. The greatest of the people that you ever admire today have once upon a time failed. Right? And it's not about failing. We've already discussed this. It's about your interpretation of failure. So this is neuroplasticity in action. Repetition rewires the brain for persistence. Trick your brain to believe that you are winning even when you fail. Trick your brain and say, I didn't get this first time. I can do this 1,000 times again, and I'm definitely going to get it. Build your resilience. Build your resilience. Don't give up after you have made few attempts, because there are many more attempts to be made that would even, overshadow the other times you think you have failed. Another core trait of winning mindset is believe. Confidence in your ability to succeed. Be confident in your ability to succeed. If you reframe failure as feedback, your brain rewires it for resilience, persistence, and eventually winning. And so this is not just you getting a dose of motivation and running with it. This is the kind of stubbornness required for destiny. There's something Apostle Femi Lazarus says. There's a dose of stubbornness that your destiny requires. That you're going to sit on a thing till you crack it. And I don't know what that might mean to you in the journey that you are right now, in the phase of life that you are. But you must be so resilient that nothing can meet you unfazed. I told us this at the beginning of the session, that winning is not an event. It's a pattern of thinking and acting. So a key perspective shift I need us to have is it is also just as it is dangerous for you to attach failure to your identity or to resign after failing over a thing or a project or whatever pursuit. The moment you shift winning into a mindset you can build, it changes everything. Because once I can tell myself that regardless of anything I seek to do, I can achieve it because I have the advantage of training my brain to believe that I'm the master at it, that means I have won the cape of success for life. Winning also is not an event. It's a pattern of thinking and acting. So, to the good stuff, I needed to lay that foundation and really just dive into this aspect, which is the core of what I want to show us. Because the truth is, once we deal with the backdrop, everything is going to come out beautiful. When it comes to execution, when it comes to winning, once you have been able to fix the mindset that can produce the results, everything will be seamless. The triple D formula to winning. And I'm not even going to spend so much time here because I've already, shown us the main thing that matters when it comes to winning. So dream, do, and deliver. If you don't fix the psychology of winning, if you don't address how failure can mess up with your approach to life, it's even going to tell on the kind of dreams that you're having. Because someone who has failed over and over and over, barely graduated, from the university, was given a pass or whatever, will shortchange themselves when it comes to life. When it comes to the kind of opportunities they apply for, you begin to think that you are not even deserving of certain kind of opportunities. So you must dream. Every great person or every great invention started with a thought or a dream. See it before it even comes to life, right? Big visions inspire consistent action. How big are you dreaming? One of the things that we seek to do in the next phase for Empower Her, you're going to see that launched next year, is as opposed to sharing global opportunities to women, we want to also become a hub where women find and can also create global opportunities. Who says global things can't start from you? Everything that you think is global today is majorly global in quotes for the sake of projection or platform or whoever is launching it. You're a global brand yourself, right? How big are you dreaming? If you have not fixed the trauma of failure and all those things that failure has maybe pushed you to define yourself as, you won't be able to dream big. Do. Now, this is the part where having come up with that groundbreaking idea or dream or vision, give yourself permission to fly. It can't just end in your journal. It can't just end in your notes. It should not end there. Fly. Go ahead and fly. Execution is where many people fall short. Break down the dreams into actionable steps. Who are the people that I need to help me achieve this? What community should I be in where this will be easier to achieve? Who can I collaborate with? Sometimes our dreams are not as complex as we make it to be. It's just because we have not yet broken it down into stepwise achievable actions that can bring us immediate milestones. So break down all the goals, the dreams into daily actionable steps. Then deliver. Follow through with all the plans. Follow through until results meet manifestation, until results manifest, right? Excellence and consistency build credibility. If you are not executing, if you are not delivering, no one will see your track record of success. If you just stop halfway in your execution process, no one will see that you are able to follow a dream or a vision or a project through, right? The core things that we must do in our approach to life: guard your mindset, redefine failure, stay committed to the circle. Remember that success is not for the strongest, but for the most resilient. I think I have to do an entire EmpowerHER webinar session on resilience alone, because it is just a game changer. The moment you refuse to allow certain situations define you, you have won half of anything that life can throw at you. Guarding your mindset, redefining failure, stay committed to the circle. Remember that success is not just for the strongest, but for the most resilient. If you want to win, start by winning in your mind. So look at your business today. Look at your academics. Look at the team that you are building. Look at your career path. Look at everything that is before you that you consider a major part of who you are and what you're doing. And ask yourself, what is my mindset about this thing? What could be holding me back from living the highest and the fullest expression of all that I'm doing and all that I have in my hands? Ask yourself the brutal questions. What have I been teaching my brain about the situations in my life? Take pen to paper, analyze it, and side by side, do a contrast, right, of the negative information you've been passing to yourself and the positive ones that you will now begin to teach yourself. And I'm sure that a lot will begin to change and transform from that particular point. This is just the opening session. Up next will be Margaret Ogbolu, and I cannot wait to have her join us. She's here with us already, ready to give our entirety into the topic at hand. And I'm going to be reading a bit more about her, doing a formal introduction. And I want you to get yourself ready. Take a break right now if you need to, not to leave. Just, we talked about you having a cup of coffee, tall glass of juice or water by your side. So you might want to just get ready for the next session right now. She's going to be sharing on the topic, the will to win. She is a dynamic leader and advocate for African-led development with a career spanning policy and social impact. She currently serves as the general manager of Voice of Africa by Africans, where she amplifies authentic African narratives and drives strategic initiatives that highlight the continent's strengths and potential. She's also the founder of Lifeline Social Impact Initiative, an organization committed to advancing gender equity, empowering communities, and creating sustainable solutions for social development. Margaret's work extends to the global stage, having served as a delegate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, UNODC, where she champions progressive policies, gender equity, and inclusive development frameworks. A passionate advocate for women and youth, Margaret is deeply committed to shaping policies and narratives that prioritize African voices, ensuring that homegrown solutions remain central to addressing the continent's challenges. So I want you to share how excited you are. I want to see your comments buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. She's going to be showing us today a Pan-African perspective on turning ambition into strategy, insights for women in putting in the work. And she's going to do justice to this. I'm also here on standby with my notes, ready to learn and glean from a wealth of wisdom. Margaret, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Thank you for being here.
Much Olajumoke for such an amazing session. I couldn't wait. I said, you know what? Maybe you were making use of my notes, but then again, it just goes to show the kind of connection we share. So first, I want you all to help me celebrate Olajumoke. She's my sister. She's a doer. She's an executionist, and she's very resilient, having done so much in the organization Ambience TV and even beyond. So I want us to recognize her brilliance. She has delivered that, and that's a good foundation for me to start with. So please, can we please celebrate her? I want her to feel it. Wow. So today I have before me the topic, the will to win, beyond the desire to succeed, the execution it takes. And if I want to sum this up in a really simple topic, it will be the builder's code. And why do I use that? Because if you're going to do anything, starting anything, creating anything, advancing anything, innovating anything, means you're a builder. Starting a team, starting an organization, starting a business, improving on a business, improving on an idea, you are a builder. You're a builder, you're a builder, you're a builder. And I want somebody to affirm to themselves, I am a builder and I can build this. So the will to build anything of repute, it doesn't just start. It's not something that just starts. It's not something that you convince yourself. I don't want to use the word convince. It's not something that you just go on to do, because the reason why certain organizations last longer than certain other organizations, while some people are more resilient than others, is simply because they understand their why and they understand what they are building. Everyone can start building something, but not everyone can build it for posterity's sake. So the reason and the burden behind this meeting, which I have discerned, which I've seen, even from the conversations I've had with her, is because she's so deeply passionate about women not just starting organization or starting endeavors with the barest minimum, or with the idea to just move or wait till the next, just for the next year, or just to build, just to survive, just to build, just to just see past the first 5 years. Even statistics have shown us that certain businesses, especially in Africa, right, they don't last up to the first 5 years. SME in South Africa said that those who even make it past the first 10 years have strong governance, partnerships, and even collaboration, and they are well capitalized. They have enough resources to get there. So the way you get, and capital, mind you, is not just currency, money. There's a lot to it. So to unpack this, I'll just take us through a series of steps, series of qualities that each builder ought to have for the sake of what you're building. And the first one I would like to dive into is conviction. And I'd love to start there because Jumoke has already told us, you dream, you deliver, you do, you deliver. In the place of dreaming, this is the phase where you deepen your conviction. The depth of your conviction determines how long whatever you're building is going to last for, and how well you're going to do it, how much you're going to invest in it, how much of your time, your energy, your resources you are going to put in it because of what you see coming out of it. It does not take the same gestation period for a butterfly. It's not the same gestation period for a butterfly, for humans, for a cat, for a dog, or even an elephant. An elephant takes up to 18 to 21 months. And the kind of feed, the quantity of the feed also differs. So the depth of your conviction is important. It is tantamount to determining just how far and how well what you're building is going to be like. For instance, you want to build a skyscraper. The requirement of the foundation, in this sense, your conviction, is way more different. It requires more resources. It requires more things to go down under, and it needs to be deeper, longer, to sustain the quality of the building and the height of the building you are about to build. It differs from when you're just trying to build a duplex. It's different requirements. So the depth of your conviction, this is where you spend a lot of time introspecting, reviewing. Why are you building what you're building? What are you building? What problem is this going to solve? You know, execution is not just going out there to do. It is first a thing in your mind. Why am I doing this? I remember a time ago, I released a video. I had a project to do. Physically, I had not enough resources to see it through. But when you go back to understanding the why you are doing what you're doing, the impact it's going to have on lives, the transformation is going to bring to people, or the way it's going to ease human living, or help people live better, have good health. By the time you understand that, your why is really, really, really important. If you're just building for fame, I bet you go viral, but what happens after is that you go down under. If you're building just to make it to the next paycheck, that's fine. You eat, but then you don't have something worthwhile. The quality of the problem you're solving is dependent on you understanding the quality, the why. Why are you building? Why are you building what you're building? When you begin to interface and interact with this, when you begin to unearth your mind, begin to understand, why am I doing what I'm doing? That begins to, the more you keep asking those questions, the answers keep coming. They will, because it checkmates you and then it forces you to answer this question. And that is you being accountable to yourself. And the moment you begin to answer these questions in your heart, what that does to you is that you begin to empower and strengthen that conviction. You begin to strengthen your vision. It strengthens your sight. It empowers you from inside out, because then that is how you even build resilience. Because in the course of building anything, there will be trials, there will be contradictions, there will be oppositions, there will be times where you will have self-doubt. But because you've spent a lot of time in digging deep the foundations in your mind, understanding the depth of your conviction, it is easy for you to be bigger on the inside to overcome any obstacle that can surface on the outside. Your mind is really, really important. This is where you get to deal with the issues of your identity, imposter syndrome, these issues that limit you, limiting beliefs in the course of dealing with your conviction. And it is really important. Sometimes the reason why the vision is not clear enough is because you've not spent enough time to understand it or the entirety of it. So yes, I dealt with that, and I really want us to know it's important. It strengthens your resolve, because there will be times where you physically do not have any resource. But because when there is a will, as they say, there is a way. When there is a will, there is a way. Because it is in your hand, in your heart, it has to come to your hand. Time and time again, I can give us numerous examples of people who didn't have it, but because that vision was burning as a result of the depth of the conviction of the importance of what they were going to build, they went on and found a way to get it done. So it's not just important for you to, oh, this is the vision I'm running with. How much time have you spent to unearth it, unpack it, review it, question it on your own, and then receive answers for it? Answer it. Answer the questions that are burning up. And the more you begin to do that, the deeper your resolve, the deeper your resilience is going to be, the more strong the structure you're trying to build. And this principle is the same for businesses, for organizations, name it. It doesn't just start with doing, it starts with your conviction. What do you understand, or what do you know about what you're doing? What's the depth of your understanding about what you're doing? What is the depth? What is powering your vision? That's your conviction. Your conviction powers your vision. Even in the face of obstacles, it causes it to leapfrog over the obstacles, because then, because of the depth of that conviction, you can understand that I can't stop here. So what's the next thing I need to do? Because I must actualize it, because you spent time to paint the vision, the vision in your heart. You've spent time. So that's what that time is. That's how you grow your conviction. That's how you strengthen your conviction. Because there will be times when you'll be down. There will be times when you're burnt out. There will be time where physically there is no strength whatsoever. There will be times psychologically you're down and out. There will be times that emotionally you are spent. But then there should be that conviction, because you answered the question at the beginning. You cannot now start asking or start looking for the answer at the middle, because you already have it, and then you can rise from there. I hope we are understanding how it's going. So the next next point I want us to go to is connection, because you cannot build anything that is sustainable on its own. The will now birth, your conviction will now birth you to start introspecting, who and what do I need to see this vision through from point A to point B. Visions are in levels, and in each of those levels, there are distances you need to cover. So how do I move from point A to point B? Who do I need? I have understood this. I have seen this. See, there are people you need to actualize every vision. There are qualities you need in them. Sometimes you need them to even strengthen your resolve. Sometimes you even need people who understand or are very skilled in an aspect of actualizing the vision. Execution is not a one-man thing. Execution is for it. I would like to use a people, not just a team. The people's thing. You for every time you went to, for instance, you going to school and coming out with a certificate, that's an achievement. But it took the lecturers, your parents, yourself agreeing to the conditions so that you can come out on the other side better. Even took some of your classmates tutorials, reading. It took people. It took people. So every vision and every conviction, everything requires people with certain qualities to see it through to the end. And one of the qualities you must look for in your connections is that they must believe you and believe the vision. They must. They must believe it. I don't know how people be a part of something they don't believe it. It's okay to start out ignorant, but it is a crime to continue in it ignorantly. How much time have you spent building connections, recognizing connections? Because some of them, they're your comrades. Some of them, they're your friends. Some are your comrades. They just agree with you in actualizing this aspect of the vision and being able to discern, understand what each person's role is in actualizing the vision will save you a ton of stress, because you need people and you need to learn to manage people. You need to learn to manage people. You need to learn to manage people. Manage people. And you can't manage people when you've not mastered the art of managing your emotions. Building is work. Is work. Winning is work. And like Jumoke has already highlighted, the work sometimes will require you to fail. And in the process, and perspective is really important, like she said. When you fail, it matters how you see it. Everything, the glass is either half full or half empty. It's all dependent on your perception. So this person is this way, but the person can be really fitted in helping you actualizing the vision when placed in this other angle. So being able to recognize and understand the value of connections will help you understand people and understand their role. That's really, really important. Another thing I want us to understand is, in the course of winning, one of the things you need to master is contradictions, because there will be opposing contradictions. Sometimes even in your mind, they are mostly internal. These can arise as a state of self-doubt, lack of motivation, distractions, imposter syndromes, you name it, insecurities. But like I said earlier, if you spend so much time in your convictions, when these situations arise, you have something to. So I have a mindset that I have whenever I'm starting anything. I don't quit until it's time to go to quit. I don't. I don't. And I have the mindset that I can learn anything. In as much as it is needed for me to do what I need to do, I can learn anything. And I can't stop. I can't fail. I don't know how you put it. It's not that I don't experience failure. It's an event. I can't fail, meaning that I will not allow it to rob me twice. I will take whatever wisdom is needed there So in the next time when I'll be going on another execution journey, that will be one of the roadmaps, one of the map guide for me in the course of doing what I want to do the next time. I can't fail. And one of the things, the reason in the course of, even in connections, one of the things you really need to do is, connections are so important. I surround myself with people who, which is the reason why I had to put connections after, is because your conviction has to be solid. You can't depend on external factors to build what you should have internally. But I surround myself with people that strengthens those convictions. That strengthens those convictions. Sometimes they are around me, they are my sisters, they are my friends. Other times, they are ahead of me. And I like to see it, because one of the things that will help your mind, like Jumoke was saying earlier, you must help your mind, you must teach your mind about how to win. And one of the ways you can do that is for you to focus your time, your energy, and your sight in seeing people who have gone ahead of you, who are doing what you are planning on doing, and who have excelled at it. You must put, I have a frame in my room that has pictures of women who have done amazing stuff, which I wish and I want to, and I am going to achieve. I have that frame. I have it on my phone. I have it everywhere around me, because I'm teaching and training my mind about something. Those connections, they've gone ahead of you. They have the wisdom, and you feed on their materials. Like I said, you can't achieve anything on your own. You need people. So yes, you master them, and you master your contradictions. You master them. You must tame it. You must tame it. You must tame it. That they will not arise is a lie, but that you yourself would have found a way to master it, so that it does not impede you in doing what you need to do. Because you notice that in the course of execution, they will come, but at the end of it, when you have achieved your goal, you can't suddenly find those contradictions, whether it's opposing factors outside or anything that is struggling on your inside, trying to impede you from seeing the vision clearer or seeing the vision through. So you must master that and understand what currency you have. And currency, what I mean by currency is your time, the time you have, because there is no plan without a time, a set time of achieving it. Understand the time you have allotted to accomplishing this feat, whether it's short term, long term. Understand the time. On this current time is currency.